Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Don't Praise the Machine. This is episode number 157. I'm one of your hosts. I'm in Berlin, Germany, and I go by the name Alexander Apricot Pepsi Holland. And as always, I'm sat digitally across from my number one tenured professor of podcasting down there in Melbourne, Australia. He's got to be the one called
John Junior Boost Maloney.
John Junior Boost Maloney. You're a WhatsApp user. I know you are because I just sent you a bunch of photographs on it.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Thanks for
Have you
those.
noticed that there's not enough React emojis? There's not enough instant React emojis to adequately convey the spectrum of
The range of
of
emotions.
emotions. If you hover to the little face next to the message, there should be a little smiley face, and when you click on it, it should give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 reactions that you can instantly give to a message.
Oh, I see. Instantly.
Did you not? You didn't know you could do this?
Yeah, maybe it's because I'm not. No, I
Okay.
didn't. I'm too texty. When I want to react in a way that I can't convey with text, I will choose a really carefully curated GIF that conveys the nuance.
Okay, so me and a lot of other people that aren't as chuggy as you, we use the instant react, which is the thing that you can see there. When you
Right.
click the little plus, it gives you 6 reactions. I'll tell you what they all are. People will be familiar with these. You get the thumbs up, you get the heart. This is important. You get the laughing, crying emoji. Then you get surprised, and then you get sad,
Yep.
and then you get then clasped hands. And maybe clasped hands, maybe that's giving it to me because I use that one really regularly, and maybe that's why it's given it to me.
Okay.
I've tried to change these. If you can change them,
Yeah.
please tell me, people, because here's the problem. You send me something that's a little bit funny, right? Like you send me something that's kind of just a little bit goofy, but it's not the funniest thing that I've ever heard. And I'll think, oh, it'll give me a smile.
It's worth it. That's like a wry smile emoji that I want to
And
send
then if
there.
I send you, if I quick react, and this is what everybody does. Everybody quick reacts with I got to say, this is funny. So you do the laughing, crying emoji, and you just seem like a total dick, like the kind of person that fake laughs at everything.
Yeah, I'm getting this now. I think what's happened, what happened earlier is that I try to do it on the laptop because I'm using my phone to see myself and you, but or to convey my image. But yeah, I'm remembering if I do it on my phone, I reckon I just instinctively use those quick emojis, and it's funny because that occurred to me today that somebody had just posted a kind of laughing, crying emoji on 3 of the last things I'd said. And I was like, well, they're not all equally funny. One of them is a killer.
Yeah.
And the others are just mildly amusing.
And then it also detracts from when you actually do write something that is killer because you might have, you would have,
because that's the
you
only
would have
option.
said some incredibly layered thing that you'll think, this is fucking the funniest thing I've written in weeks. And then and then just before that, you will have written something completely piss weak, and the person's just doing laughing, crying emoji to both of them. And
it's like the only option being haha.
It makes me think Mark Zuckerberg himself chose them because he's so bereft of emotional intricacies and emotional depth that he's gone,
Six is too many for him. He's like, this is nauseating range of emotion.
so
6
it's
moods.
such a weird thing because people will send me stuff that's just like, I want to be able to say, yeah, that's pretty good. I want to give it a little good on you. But instead I have to go, oh my days. I mean, my days.
Yeah.
Where did you come up with that? That?
I do it by giving people a certain number of ha's. Like if I give you 3 ha's, that's just a solid, I had a chuckle. If I give you like 10, then I'm like actually laughing in real life.
You're right. When somebody does say something that actually changes my world, I will tend to fill an entire row with ha's.
Yeah.
And then the person knows that they've killed me.
That's when Yeah, when I get that from you, I give myself a pat on the back. I'm like, that one got him.
What did you do? You said something recently that I did that too. So I'll have to do.
I'll tell you what it was. But we can't go too far into it because we need to save this for a future episode.
What was it?
But some of our listeners may be familiar with this phrase, which has been doing the rounds. Beautiful cabin crew, Scarlett Johansson. That's tied to this phenomenon called the dead internet theory. And, so the AI has been putting all this weird stuff on Facebook. AI-generated images and then other AI-generated accounts are reacting to it. It's a bizarre thing, which we'll get into, I'm sure, soon. But I just said something like, quoting Tim and Eric, I said, my dad can't get this in the mail. Because I was like...
Because we were talking about because it's a thing that's affecting boomers in particular. That's why.
Exactly. Because they don't know what the difference between AI and non-AI looks like necessarily. And also the images are just so odd that I was thinking, this is going to break my poor parents' brain.
And that is exactly the kind of thing that would make me give so many ha-has, because it would be so layered with depth, because it would be, you will get this esoteric Tim and Eric. Pretty much, you're guaranteed that if it's an esoteric Tim and Eric or Simpsons reference, then you're gonna get a line full of ha he hoo hoo ha's. What do you do? Are you going out tonight after this, John? Is that why you've got your green going out shirt on?
Got my going out shirt on. I'm going just to dinner with some friends after this. But to be honest, I got 3 of these shirts when I was in France because I was running out of shirts and I had to be on holiday, and it was a French summer look, the polo, which is a new thing for me. I don't really wear polos much, but I just got a set of 3 different colors and now they're on heavy rotation. So everyone thinks that I'm doing edits of Moon Safari or something. But green, what do you reckon? Racing green, and it's got the little, which I think is very passé, but they like it in Paris. That's got the little kind of detail around the collar there.
There's a guy on TikTok who was showing me a tutorial where he just changes the color of his shirts in post, and it's not that difficult to do. It's not like it's not a technology that's brand new. You've been able to key out and key the color of your shirt. You just the color of your shirt is, it's green screen technology. If the color of your shirt is very distinct from the other colors in the frame, then you can just pick that color, isolate it, and just go change this. So the guy was just saying, I just don't really buy that many shirts because I just change the color of them. I'll just do a different video each day, and I just change the color of my shirt in post with effects.
Yeah, hasn't dealt with how that comes across in real life, but maybe he doesn't have to. Most of his relationships are able to be done through filtration.
Yeah, he doesn't interact with anybody in the real world anymore. I mean, this will be the other thing that will happen. It's already happening somewhat with NFTs, but you will pay for exclusive clothes in the digital realm. So I think some of the major fashion houses have already started to experiment with non-fungible tokens. And so in the future, you and me will do a podcast and you'll say, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on the NFT, so I get to wear this Dolce & Gabbana champagne tracksuit, which they only sold 10 of. And then people will say...
Which
Go on.
Which won't be a real garment. No. Is that the
It'll
idea?
exist only in the digital realm, but because humans crave scarcity and exclusivity, they will only sell a certain number of them. So you'll have the Dolce & Gabbana champagne tracksuit on, and you'll be saying, "Look at me, I'm so flash and fine. I'm so flossy." And then some kid, he'll pop up on his podcast and he'll go like, "Look, I got it as well," and everyone will go, "Fake! You've got the fake one. You didn't pay for that. You just bought it.
You went to the dark web and got a knockoff."
Exactly, we got a dark web knockoff. Even though it's literally like the exact same code. It's literally the same zeros and ones. Because we're dumb.
I mean, that's kind of an old...
dumb. We're all dumb. Humans are dumb.
That's kind of been going on for a while, right?
Well, yeah.
That's the underlying theme of the show. But even back in the Sims days and kind of massive multiplayer, early versions of massive multiplayer online games, people used to set up shops, and then you'd get like a sword or a tunic or whatever they wear in those universes, and it was 8 pixels that somebody had put together, but you might give them $5 for it or something, which is very strange, particularly when there are people only a few hundred or 1,000 kilometers away who are saying, please can we have some more mosquito nets, and you're going, no, I think I'm going to spend this money on a pretend shirt that exists only as a fraction of a micrometer on a microchip.
Because my assault rifle needs blue camo. That's what I would say. I need blue camo on my assault rifle in Call of Duty. I play Call of Duty. I need blue camo assault rifle. John, you wrote to me on the docket and you said, I've got deep apologies and corrections to make. I hope they're for you and not me. Did I say something wrong?
Yeah, I want to just give a global apology for you.
That'd be great. That'd be great if you didn't even tell me and you're just like, we're going to start with apologies and corrections and just not even giving me a heads up that it's entirely about something that I said.
I've been keeping a list of errors that you've made over the last 6 months. just look, we're all growing. It's nothing personal. No, so it was a good one, I thought. Well, actually, there are two. So the first one is, and apologies and corrections for anyone who's become a listener more recently, has a bit of a pedigree on the show. I don't know where we first did it, but it was a long time ago now. We had made some statement of fact which turned out to be false, and then we invented a segment called Apologies and Corrections where we addressed our various errors. Sometimes we address them in post, but now that we're on video, that's less likely to happen. But I was talking that's right. So the context is, I was talking about the origin of the word queer in its present meaning, which is about 100 years old. Of course, this is
something we're going to have to apologize for, John.
It's not what you think. And and I realized, and I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm committed to doing the work. I realized that I'd referred to the Bloomsbury Group, and one of the Bloomsbury Group members is the famed economist John Maynard Keynes, but I said James Maynard Keenan. Now, that's a weird mashup of John Maynard Keynes and Maynard James Keenan, who's the lead singer of Tool. And
Tool and actually, viticulturalist he is now as well.
Yeah, famed viticulturalist. He's a big fan of South Australian wine, if I'm not mistaken. And when you go to his page, because I went to his page to check because I was listening to that episode and I thought, I've done that thing which I've done before where I mixed up Tool and economics and his name isn't even Maynard James Keenan, it's just James Keenan. Maynard was a character that he kind of invented for himself when he was in high school, and then it just stuck that as a nickname. And when you go to his page on Wikipedia, it actually says not to be confused with John Maynard Keynes. And I thought, well, that's encouraging because obviously I'm not the only idiot who does this. So apologies to the estate of John Maynard Keynes and to Maynard James Keenan from Tool and A Perfect Circle. I was a big fan of yours growing up.
Apologies to the cellar door of James.
Yeah, exactly. Can't wait. I'm not going to be getting any complimentary bottles of Shiraz from him anytime soon. I also insinuated on a recent episode when talking about Canva and text-to-image AI software, I said you can use dead celebrities or public figures, and I gave the example of Sophia Loren. Now, unfortunately, she's still alive, so I'm sorry, Sophia. She's 89, but she is still with us.
She got in touch.
I don't know, which raises the question. Yeah, her lawyers got in touch and said, we're sick of people. We're sick of the farewells to Sophia. We're sick of does anyone remember the late actress Sophia? She's still here. She's still working. She's in an Italian TV series right now. No, I don't know if that's true, actually. Probably not at 89. But Yeah, she is still around. And which raised the question, why can I get Canva to generate her image and not, say, Alicia Silverstone? I don't know. I thought it was just dead people, but evidently not.
Have you seen that fantastic meme? I'm assuming it's real, but I have not double checked it before talking about it here, where Hulk Hogan is on Twitter and he says how much he misses a member of Jackass and he confuses Bam.
Yeah, Bam Margera, whatever his name is.
Who's still alive, although often in trouble and very much on the precipice of death,
Yes.
I believe. He is very much still alive, but
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan confuses him with, I forget who the one is that did tragically die.
Yeah, Ryan something or other.
Yeah.
Who died in a car
And
accident. Then he and then he responds.
Yeah, and Hulk Hogan tweeted. It's kind of an odd thing to do anyway. Even to tweet into the ether to say, "Oh, bro, just miss you so much." Even that's weird enough to kind of go. Why did Hulk Hogan? What was he sitting on the toilet and thought? Oh, I miss you so. So Hulk Hogan's tweeted at Bam, who's still alive, gone. So sad you're gone, bro. Miss you so much that you're dead. And then Bam.
And he posted an image of them and kept them together, like put their arms around each other.
And then what happens? What does Bam reply?
He says like, oh, "I love you too, man, but I'm still alive," and said, "Thanks for thinking of me," or something. He was quite gracious. But it's like, I mean, the other thing it does is just put to the truth, the fact that you don't have a relationship of any meaningful kind with this person, because if you did, you wouldn't think they were deceased.
They're alive. You're right, yeah.
If you really missed them, you'd go, I might get on the phone to Bam. Oh, no, he's dead.
John, I've got a little bit here about supermarket psychology. We can do that, or we can do...
Love to hear that.
All right.
No, I want to hear that because
we've become the supermarket podcast.
Exactly.
This is the pivot we've been waiting for, the niche we've been searching for 3 years.
Yeah. The Chugi Checkout Boys, we're going to call ourselves.
Just specifically for the supermarket. And we could become a supermarket industry podcast where it's just the CEOs of Coles and Woolworths and Costco and Aldi listening in every week. And we just talk about supermarket business news, about what you can do to price fix with your competitors.
Now, Al, I've always wondered... where is the line between cooperation and antitrust?
Yeah, that's
practices?
right. If you're just having a friendly meal at a Michelin-starred restaurant with the CEO of a competing supermarket chain, and you just talk a little bit about how you say something like, wouldn't the world just be a slightly better place if if your prices were exactly the same as mine and mine were exactly, I'm just going to leave that with you, Barry. Let's get another bottle of wine over here. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, I think it confuses the customers when the prices are different at the two supermarket chains.
Exactly. Are we so different, you and I, when you get down to it? We just want to give bread to people at the same price.
So last week we talked about self-checkouts, and then I was in the supermarket this week, and I was in the impulse aisle. I was in the checkout line. I think it's called the checkout area, where you're in the line, you're waiting to go through the checkout, and there are all those delicious items that are called impulse items. Did you know, for example, John, that they're called impulse items is my first question.
If I did, it's because you at some point would have told me that, I reckon. It's the kind of thing you would have told me. But it makes total sense. So
there's one specific thing that supermarkets are doing in the checkout area to manipulating you into buying more junk that you don't need. And I looked at the statistics of this. It's very fascinating. In the last few years in America, these statistics are from, Americans spend $6 billion a year in checkout areas. So you can assume that those $6 billion are for items that nobody really needs. They just decide in the checkout line.
They didn't come in thinking I need them.
Yeah, I didn't come in thinking that I need them. and this led me down a little bit of a rabbit hole. I won't go entirely into it because we could do, I mean, now that we are a supermarket podcast, we will do a deep dive.
Yeah, go for your life.
We will do a deep dive next week into the history of supermarket layouts, but I thought I would just give you a little bit of a brief primer here because it is really interesting. And I think everybody understands on some basic level that when you first walk into a supermarket, you're being manipulated. But the extent to which you are, I think people probably don't understand, and you don't give it too much thought because you just got to get in and get out. But when you start reading about it, it's really fascinating. So basic supermarket history. So before self-service supermarkets, and when I say self-service, that's you and me walking in aisles. We choose the items that we want. So that's something that developed in the early 20th century. Before that, you would ask a store clerk to fill out an order form for you, and then they would order in the things that you need, and then you would pick them up, sort of much like now people get groceries home delivered. You know, it's all come full circle. And then you had supermarkets, self-service supermarkets that came to prominence in the early 20th century. And then a huge development, again, something that we just take for granted, was the introduction of the shopping cart or the shopping trolley. So this is not just a given. At some point, somebody realized, we're just giving, people are just coming in with their own little basket and taking a few items that they can carry. And then somebody in the 1930s and 40s said, what if we just give people a fucking huge cart on wheels?
Yeah, then they'll be like, fuck it, I got plenty of room in here. I'm going to get 10 bags
Exactly.
of popcorn.
And then it goes hand in hand with the rise of the automobile as well. People get cars, people have shopping trolleys, and then suddenly... I mean, I remember doing this when I first moved.
Man, that is interesting. Maybe we should do a shopping podcast. It's fascinating.
This is much better than what we normally do.
No, it is good. I mean, it is, as you say, it's these things that you don't really reflect on it being a deliberate, calculated decision. But the fact that you would, not that long ago, you'd go, and you can imagine it, going to some place where you might speak to the clerk in the front.
Yeah.
And then there'll be a big, cold room and stuff out the back, and you'll be like, okay, I want 6 apples and a side of beef or whatever. And, he goes and gets them. And then you think, and then somebody thought, people are too controlled about what they're buying. We need to just bombard them with a huge variety of products. And also, we need to not pay clerks, and people can do the shadow work of shopping for themselves. True. And then it's all about shadow work, isn't it? Which I didn't realize was a term, but which is basically this kind of covert process by which product manufacturers and retailers and so on, businesses will transfer the work from people that they would have to pay to you. So, you buy a flat pack coffee table and they're like, it'll be fun. You can make your coffee table at home and I won't have to pay you because it's just unpaid labor.
It'll be a fun bonding experience for you and your wife. Exactly. And you're like, this IKEA cabinet
screaming at your wife.
Me to divorce my wife.
That's right. And then you go, you have a store clerk, and then it's like, do your own store clerking. And now they're going, do your own checking out. And they sell it to you like it's a great thing for you, but really it's just a money saver for the big boys.
Do you know, John, if I say to you, when you walk into a supermarket, what's the first thing that you experience? What's the first type of food that you experience? Does this, is this front of mind for you? When I tell you what it is, you go, oh yeah, of course. But when you first walk...
So I walk in the...
Yeah.
I walk through the entryway in Coles. Yeah. What do I see? Maybe deli items, is that correct?
So it would most likely be fruit and vegetables.
Yeah, okay, that's right. And fresh produce.
And do you have any ideas? I mean, I didn't think of this, but do you have any idea? Do you have any idea why that might be?
Don't know. That's a good question. I mean, it's a pleasant experience. It's a kind of olfactory experience where you go, oh, I'm in a market. There's all fresh smells and
the colour. Spot on. That's 100%, John. You got it. I didn't guess this, but that is exactly what it is. So fruit and vegetables are at the front of the supermarket because they're bright, they're colourful, they smell fantastic. I'm assuming as well that they're associated with a healthy lifestyle. It's divorced from the sort of factory farming, highly processed experience that you're about to have when you start browsing the aisles, which is a much colder, less emotive experience. I'm just back in the village. I'm in the bazaar. Maybe I'll barter with somebody for this apple.
In the bazaar. I'm going to squeeze that mango and make sure it's fresh. And then you go. Yeah. You go straight to the Twinkies and the adult diapers.
Both for the same experience that you have planned later. You just don't want to move. You got your Twinkies and your adult diapers.
Friday night.
You're not going to leave the chair.
I'm turning my phone off.
So you're 100% right. So it puts you in a great mood straight away. So you go, God, fresh fruit, and I've experienced this myself. As I'm telling you this story, as I'm remembering, as I'm telling you the fact that fruit and vegetables are at the front of the grocery store, I'm remembering exactly where I am with Mum. We always go to the same supermarket when I'm with her back in Adelaide. Foodland in shout out to Foodland crew in Sefton Park, in Sefton Plaza. You go straight in and Mum's like, look at all, and I tell you what, mate, fucking coming from German supermarkets, when you walk into an Australian supermarket and you're hit with the fruit and veg section, you would swear to God you went from being in a concrete room into a tropical rainforest. It is that. I'm going, like, Mum's going, what is wrong with you? And I'm running around, I'm picking up, I'm going, look at this mango, look at everything, look how clean and beautiful and fresh everything is. Tears streaming down my face because I've been eating plastic tomatoes from German. The difference between German Aldi and Australian Aldi. Oh, man, we could do it. Again,
wow.
This is, again, it really should be a supermarket pod. Next week, the difference between Aldi in Germany and Aldi in Australia. So you're punched in the face with that beautiful fresh fruit and vegetables. The next thing that you might encounter is the baked goods for much the same reason. Fresh smells, those bakery smells hitting you in the nose. You're going, fucking hell, shopping.
See, this is why I said deli, because I was thinking, meats, cheeses, those kinds of lovely, pleasurable things to look at and smell.
Yeah. Meat and dairy, particularly dairy, but you are right that meat, so you know where is the meat, where is the deli counter, John? Where are the meats?
So what I'm picturing is I'm walking into the supermarket. In front of me is as you've said, is the fruit and veg in a couple of rows, and they often make sure that's kind of looks markety, like
totally stack a bunch of shit in a pile.
Area. Exactly, it's all piled. A lot of the sort of tables and containers that it's in are kind of wooden planks rather than just plasticky crap, and so you feel like, oh, this is a bit kind of oldie worldy, and then to the right, often as you're walking in, there'll be a deli counter with, meats and cheeses and that kind of thing. And I guess the dairy is behind that, or sort of up behind that in a lot of configurations.
So
is
the
that
dairy,
right?
the dairy is more often at the back, and I believe to the left. So
okay.
So the idea is that the meat and the dairy are essentially in places in the supermarket that will force you to walk through more of the supermarket. So when you walk in, the last thing a supermarket would ever do is have you walk in and go, okay, here's the fruit and veg, here's the meat, here's the milk, and here's the eggs. These are the first items that we want. No, that is not what they do. They very cleverly put those items in areas that mean that you have to walk the maze of the supermarket, and you have to spend more time browsing the aisles to get to because obviously dairy in I'm talking about the US, in American culture, but also, this is like a proxy for Australia as well. We consume tons of dairy and meat. So that's what most people need when they go to a supermarket. So put those items at the back.
Yeah, interesting.
Where people have to get through to the supermarket to get them. The more time you're exposed to different aisles, the more likely you are to pick up things that you're just seeing on the aisle shelves. When you get to the cereal aisle, John, cereals are going to be within reaching distance of children. So your Fruit Loops, your Cocoa Pops, they're not going to be on the top shelf where little Johnny in 1991 can't reach them. They're going to be somewhere that little Johnny can reach out and use his extreme pester power and start screaming at his mother, saying, Celia, I want. What was it cereal did you want, John? Were you a classic? Did you demand Fruit Loops? Did you demand Cocoa Pops? And were you given them?
My parents were not very keen on me eating, deeply sugary cereals, but they were a little bit in the trap of thinking, because it was the early 90s, that some cereals that turned out to be quite bad were not so bad. So I remember eating Nutri-Grain, which was extremely full of sugar.
Nutri-Grain is very bad, but they very cleverly made it appear that it wasn't, because apparently you're just allowed to say that your sugary cereal is healthy, and you're allowed to have marketing campaigns with triathletes.
It was all triathletes, Iron Men, who just would be. I mean, if you ate that, and you'd be disqualified for shitting your pants. But if you ate the kind of quantities that you observed them consuming on those ads, but nevertheless, that was about as bad as it got. Though, I rarely got. The only time I got things like sugar. What were they called? Like crunchy nut cornflakes or Cocoa Pops was, special treats. Often when we were on the road, we'd stop in a motel and they'd have those little novelty-sized packets of cereal, and that's still to this day I enjoy that.
I forgot about that. You could get the 6-pack of Kellogg's cereal and you would get a little dose of everything. Packs. You'd get a tiny... That was for me as well. It was the only time that I would ever get the taste of Fruit Loops in my mouth was when Mum would buy the 6-pack because you would just get a single serving of Fruit Loops because I had good parents, they wouldn't buy me an enormous box.
And they said, not getting anything with a toucan on it and walking past.
So once you've done your shopping, John, we get to the bit that I'm talking about, the checkout area, the actual checkout with the conveyor belt and the display of what are called impulse items. And there is often also a fridge at a lot of the checkouts. I certainly know that's the case in Australia. You get to the checkout and there is a little display shelf with Mars bars,
and picturing it.
Yep. Skittles and Bounties and Tweaks. It's making my mouth water. So the idea with all of this is that it's multi-layered. So first of all, brands really want their sugary treats and their magazines, all these kinds of things in the checkout area. It's a very valuable real estate because the checkout area is the one area of the supermarket that everybody is forced to go past. You can avoid whatever aisles you want. You might even be a person who's trying to lose weight, and you may have seen a dietitian, and they may have said to you, just don't even go down the confectionery aisle at the supermarket. And you might have thought, I'm just going to go in, grab my items that I need to get, my healthy fruit and veg, and then I'll go straight to the checkout. Hey, you get to the checkout where you're forced to go through. And so customers have to see the products that are in the checkout area. So we're talking about all those delicious items. And then psychologically...
brimful of Snickers on the 45.
Brimful of Snickers on the 45. Everybody needs a bosom for a polo. Everybody needs a bosom. A little bit of brimful of Asher there on the 45. Very late 90s indie pop reference that I'm sure some of our listeners will really have enjoyed.
It's a great song.
And the other thing about the checkout area, John, is that you are psychologically more exhausted at the end of your shopping experience and you are more susceptible. Your willpower is down. And so you go, I'm just I'm just thirsty. I'm just hungry. And the other thing, then what happens? maybe you are in the line behind one or two people. You have to wait. You start getting bored.
Yep.
Your mind starts racing and you start thinking about what a terrible person that you are and how you've made all the wrong decisions in your life. And you go, I just want to stop thinking about all these things. What's gonna help me stop? And you go, oh, I could start thinking about all these delicious treats instead. And so then you start looking at all those sweet treats, and then you
think
you reach out.
Just this is it. I've come to the end of my shop, and then I'm going to go home to my wife that doesn't like me and my kids that don't know me very well. And it's nothing but the drive home
And
now.
then-
You go, fuck it, gonna get a Twix.
And then you reach out and you pick up that Tweaks, and bubba da bing, bubba da boom, $6 billion a year
yeah, that's
is coming out
crazy.
of that
is crazy.
little area in the United States. I don't know if you have this in, I'm sure you must in some stores in Australia, John, but in Berlin, there are two stores that come to mind that have turned the checkout into essentially a final aisle of items. So over here, the one that springs to mind the quickest is TK Maxx, which we have, which in the US is called TJ Maxx. That's where the character, Brian Jordan Alvarez, that's where his character comes from, is
right.
TJ Maxx. The first time he ever did that video, the character didn't have a name, but he loved buying cheap Calvin Klein underwear from a store called TJ Maxx, and that's why it's called TJ Maxx. So TK Maxx, it's called in Germany, and when it's very busy, and so what they do now is they have like in the same way that you would put up a barrier to lead people in an orderly line, they realize very cleverly, well, why should we just have people lining up around these roped areas, these barriers where there's no items that they can reach out for? And so in large TK Maxx stores in Germany, they basically have this huge maze that you have to go through. I mean, it's maybe one or two kind of aisles worth of just impulse items. So you might spend 3 or 4 or 5 minutes just wandering past
I know what you're talking
this huge aisle essentially of extra impulse items, and they do the same thing at Primark as well, which is another European cheap chain where you have your thing and then you go, I'm going to line up and pay for this, and then it's just like
it's so
cheap
insidious.
Bluetooth earbuds. It's some weird liqueur that you can. It's basically like tacky gift shop shit that they make you walk past.
Yeah, it's like a miniature duty-free store at the airport
Exactly.
or something. It's all that garbage, which is also about people who are not, whose defenses are down, who are in this kind of weird in-between space where they're not really thinking. So they're like, yeah, fuck it, I'll get a giant Toblerone for no reason because I'm disoriented. But you're right. And it's so interesting because I hadn't really thought about that, because they sort of make it look as though it's just set up that way because it has to be for some reason that's, how the space is organized, and you've got to snake down this little aisle before you get to the cash register. But really what they've done is said, well, why should the checkout area, this extremely lucrative little trap at the end of the shopping experience, let's try and push that out as far as we can and make it into a whole gauntlet that you've got to run through at the very end. So you just like
Temptation.
the person
gauntlet.
who's got bad willpower has just kind of beaten their impulses 10 times, and then the 11th item they're like, oh fuck it, I'll just get a wagon wheel.
Maybe I'll get 2 giant Toblerones. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. So next time you're in a supermarket, just have a little bit of a think about it. I remember as well, John, the first time that I was ever confronted with a store where the layout was very clearly a deliberate attempt to make you pass through all these aisles that you didn't necessarily want to. And in Adelaide, it was when Toys R Us opened on Rundle Mall. It was the first store that I'd ever seen. And of course, it was an American chain. Everybody in Adelaide will remember this because I think it was the first time anyone in Adelaide had ever seen it before. You walked in and then you were forced to go through, it was like a single track that you had to walk through in order to get out of Toys R Us. So you were forced to go down all these aisles that you would otherwise have not needed to in Toys R Us. And then famously now everybody will know and just kind of take it as normal. IKEA. Every IKEA is the maze.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the kind of classic, like there's several sitcoms I can think of where people have gone into IKEAs and, you know, there's been jokes about what a kind of disorienting maze it is and how it's designed to make you end up getting a bunch of rubbish that you don't need and arguing with your partner about whether you need it when you get home and all this kind of stuff. While you were talking then, though, I must admit I was just looking at some of the accolades that Adelaide's own Foodland stores have won in recent years. And I don't know why.
Foodland is a big supermarket. Well, it's an did you say it's an independent supermarket chain in Adelaide?
Independent,
in South Australia.
It is, yeah. And they've got a couple of outlets which are particularly kind of high end. And I don't know whether this started with one and then spread to some of the others. But I mean, when I say high end, you go in and there's, you know, this kind of Whole Foods-esque large section where there's lots of exotic, sometimes actually Australian native herbs, but lesser known ones in beautiful display boxes and things. And you can mess around in there. But there's also like a section with lobsters that you can get fresh. And there's a little oyster bar that you can sit at and have some sharked oysters, and there's a grand piano and a person just playing piano as you run around and do your shopping. And it's won all these international awards for, like, you know, these sort of weird retailing events in Las Vegas and stuff. Little old
Which one
Foodland is taking out all these awards.
It's the one at the start. It's the one near Glenside.
Frueville? Yeah. That's right. It is the one near Glenside. I think there's maybe two, but anyway, people who Adelaide listeners will no doubt write in and let us know. But that's kind of an interesting twist on the formula, because obviously they've turned it into kind of an experience
destination
centre rather a destination supermarket.
Forget about the pub with your mates.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I literally had a trip there a couple of years ago. I hadn't been to Adelaide in a while, and I went, dropped off my bags, and then my friend said, "Do you want to go to Foodland?" And I was like, "Not really." And they said, "It's actually really good." And I was like, "Man, this is really good." But yeah, there you go. So, I mean, I was thinking something that I might do next time I go to the shops, which, as we discussed last week, is becoming a rarity as I get more and more things delivered. But I'd love to go, partly because I'm remembering through your having talked about it, being that kid who's craving items that I'm not allowed to have, and my mum's just getting all these things that I don't really appreciate the value of. But I want to go to the shops as an adult now and just go in with my basket under my arm and bypass all the aisles and go straight to the checkout area and get a full load of groceries, which are just nonsense checkout items.
Get a huge shopping trolley and then just get tons, just handfuls of impulse items from. It'd be loads of that weird stuff that's only there occasionally, like push pop sticks and spray candy that's just it's like a spray liquid, and then some other 400 Kinder eggs,
a bunch of magazines. have long form articles about soapies and shit.
In Germany, the cigarettes are at the checkout as well. I think that's got something. That's also got something to do with the regulations around who can have them, and it's one of there's also this kind of it's like Germany and probably Europe more generally, but certainly continental Europe, Germany. They love cigarettes over here, and so you can still just buy cigarettes from the person at the checkout at the supermarket. But there's obviously some law about. I'm assuming it's a law about how they can be displayed, and so there's a little roller shutter over them, and when you're in, there's this funny little ritual that has to happen if you're a smoker. When you're in the line waiting to get to have your items checked out, you can sometimes get the attention of the person at the checkout even before they've come to you. So they're checking out somebody else's groceries and you go, Entschuldigung, and you put your hand up and then you point to the little roller shutter and they go, yeah, right. And they press a little button and then the roller shutter opens up and then you can just get cartons of fags and then you grab them and then add them to your grocery. So if you come to Germany, get a few packs of fags when you're in the line, John.
It's relatively similar in Australia, isn't it? It's all behind this kind of locked section where you go to the checkout person. I need some cigarettes, and they say, "Yep, 20 Marlboros. That'll be $400, please."
What's your grab? What item would you grab? Can you remember recently? Have you grabbed anything from the impulse item? But mine is always, I'm a total suck for Mars Corporation. And the funny thing is as well is that it doesn't make any difference that I even know that these are called impulse items. I'm there going, I will grab an impulse item. I know. And I'm always, and I'm a sucker for the Mars Corporation. So it pretty much, my tier list, if we could do a little internet-y thing, my tier list of from probably most grabbed to least. If I was to grab 3 items, it would probably be Bounty. For some reason, I haven't checked the calories, but for some reason, my brain thinks Bounty is slightly healthier than Snickers.
It's got coconut.
I'm always like, no, I'm getting Snickers. That's terrible. I'll just get a Bounty. I need to double check the calories. So I'm Bounty, Snickers, Twix, and you know what? Recently, man, Mars bars are fucking really good. I can recommend next time you're in
good balance.
Next time your self-control is super low, pick yourself up a Mars bar.
Won't be long. Will not be long.
Have you grabbed anything recently? Has Jacinta had to slap your hand away as you approach the cashier?
It's all Ralph and FHM mags. She's like, what are you doing? It's not. What year is it? No, I mean, I like to I'll get a crunchy sometimes.
Crunchy?
Crunchy. I love the honeycomb taste. Chocolate covered honeycomb. Or there's this thing called the violet crumble, which I think is Australian.
I fucking love violet crumbles.
Which is a very similar product, but people argue about the very nuanced differences between them. But essentially, they're both honeycomb with a chocolate coating. I love that. And the other thing that I get, which I almost never get anywhere else or in any other circumstances, is a Chupa Chup.
Oh.
I love getting that from the checkout area because they'll often have like just a little, sort of container full of them.
Yeah, well, there's the classic Chupa Chup display is the case full of the little the cylinder, the transparent cylinder. This is classic merchandising. The transparent cylinder, and then the cap of the cylinder becomes basically what would almost like a tree trunk for Chupa Chup branches.
It's true. Yeah, that's right. So you can kind of have a good overview of the different flavors that they've got going on. And I'll get a choc banana,
Oh, fuck, I haven't had a choc banana. There's always a decision you have to make is do you get the clear one with the fruity flavors or do you get the milky based one? So you've gone milky based.
I like a milky base. Yeah, sometimes the other day I did it. It was about 40 degrees Celsius outside, so it wasn't really lollipop weather, and I was a bit disoriented and hot, and I accidentally got a cola one, and I was like, oh, fucking that's
Do you not like the cola one? I'm a cola freak.
I don't mind it. But are you really? Yeah, people
cola
love
and
them.
Strawberry.
I guess I was just expecting choc banana, but yeah, I do like that, and it's funny because it just wouldn't. It's just not something that I ever think about outside of that very specific scenario, but it's not unusual for me to be walking to the car with a bag of groceries and a Chupa Chup in my mouth.
This has reminded me, I love to remind people of trivia that they might get in the pub quiz that week because there's just always questions that come up in pub quiz trivia. John, I think we've done this before, but just got to remind people because I want you to win the pub. You're down by 1 point. Quizmaster asked this question. I want you to get it right, everybody. Who created the Chupa Chup logo?
Salvador Dali. Is that right?
Ding,
Yes!
ding, ding. Win the pub quiz. Wins the meat tray.
Meat
Cover
tray,
yourself
meat
in
tray.
glory, son. Cover yourself in glory, son. So, guys, that was another Don't Praise the Machine shopping
100.
industry,
Yeah,
grocery
deep dive.
grocery store industry podcast. John, I'm sorry I've railroaded you this episode. I didn't expect that to go
No, it's been
this
good.
long. You can save your bits for
Last week, fertility odyssey. This week, shopping.
Do you have any? I mean, we can. Do you have anything you want to say to everybody? We don't have to jump out right now. I mean, it's a podcast.
No,
we don't have a hard. What do they call it? A hard. It's called a hard stop. I think in the industry when they have it.
Hard stop.
I know
Okay.
we've got a hard. I know we've got a hard stop with you today. I know that we've only got you for an hour, and you've got to run off to another press conference.
Look, all I want to say to people is, keep an eye out in the next few days and look out for that phrase, beautiful cabin crew, Scarlett Johansson, because the internet is going in a very weird direction, and I'm sure we'll pick up on that at some point.
Fantastic. Have a great rest of the week, everybody, because you've got to be getting this on Tuesday morning in Australia, or sometimes our Europeans, they stay up super late at night, just wait like it's Christmas Eve, and they're waiting for Santa Claus to bring his big old jelly bottom down the chimney. And that's our podcast coming down the digital chimney. And you want to grab it as soon as it comes out. You want to sneak a peek as it's under the tree. So have a great rest of the week, everybody. My name's been Alexander Holland, and as always, I'm sat right here across from my tenured professor of podcasting, John Junior Boost Maloney. Thank you so much, everybody, and we can't wait to see you next week.
The podcast.